Today we have an interesting game to look at. We've done tons of videos like this in the past where we'll VOD review viewers of the channel and try to comment on different things that they might do wrong. But this video is special. Honestly, I don't know if I realized how with the release of Chamber, a different breed of player would be born, and that's players who think that they are a lot more competent with a deagle than they really are. Don't get me wrong, everyone can get a kill with a deagle sometimes, but do you really want to deagle every single round for the sake of economy? No hate to this viewer who submitted this, of course. We'll write that off as a learning experience, but when I watched through this VOD, I could just feel Max's pain as he reviewed it.
I think it's best as you can.
Alright, what's the Vandal?
With those comms.
Or-
You want the Vandal.
Sure.
Keep it.
I kid you not, this Chamber used this deagle every single round, for better or for worse. And if you look at the scoreline, you can probably infer it was for worse. That's not even what this video is for though. This video is about showcasing why players might believe they have good crosshair placement when in reality, they really don't. I don't mean to make any implications here about this player, by the way. I'm sure he's a great guy with a leveled head. He's a SkillCapped.com subscriber, I mean, of course he is. However, the Sheriff in Valorant is a gun that requires really good crosshair placement to use. You can't just constantly be relying on nasty flicks when using this gun, and although a Phantom might be able to bail you out with a little bit of panic sprays, the Sheriff absolutely will not bail you out when you end up missing your first shots. I think it's pretty safe to infer that if this player is using a deagle every single round, he feels as if he is at least good enough with the Sheriff to pull his weight. So let's talk about that. In the background, you should see a bunch of clips of our hero dying when using his deagle. Now, whiffs aside, you'll also notice that in many of these clips, he actually is landing body shots on the enemies. Now, don't get me wrong, everyone gets body shots, but getting a lot of body shots is definitely a sign that your crosshair placement is too low. I'm actually kind of glad that this player used the deagle the entire game because this problem is so obvious when you're using a deagle. Mostly because you'll realize how difficult it actually is to kill a target with body shots alone. It takes 3 bullets, which is literally half of your magazine with a normal Sheriff, and during this time, they're normally shooting back at you. This is a gun where you need to get headshots, and you get severely punished for not getting headshots. So, putting this to rest, if your name isn't Tens, Leaf, Scream, or a Proto, don't go deagle only. Your elo will thank you later. But anyway, like we said, that's not the point. The point is that many players probably believe their crosshair placement is good enough to do these sort of things. So let's talk a bit more about crosshair placement. To be entirely honest, I feel like Max was being a little bit generous on this, but I understand what he's saying. This player's crosshair placement is good when he's thinking about it. You'll see he does a bunch of different corrections throughout the course of all of these rounds when he's walking around the map. His crosshair placement will be very bad, and then he'll adjust it so that it's good. I'm critical of this right now, but honestly, this is the first step of the process of getting good crosshair placement. You need to make a constant effort to try to improve it so that it becomes more natural for you. But the reason that this is bad still is because your crosshair placement can't just be good when you're focusing on it. It needs to become something that you just do naturally without really thinking about it much. This is why myself, and I'm sure many other high-ranked players, can recall plenty of times in recent memory when they're literally looking at the map when they kill a target. There have been so many times where I'm just looking at the map and somebody appears on my screen and all I have to do to get the kill is just click. With crosshair placement, it's not just important that it's good when you're intending to take fights, it also needs to be good when you're not intending to take fights. Because sometimes you never really know when you're about to take a fight. Particularly, I'll notice players' crosshair placement will be terrible when it seems like they're looking at the map or communicating with their teammates. Here's an example from the same game.
One mid. I'm coming over to you guys. Did they get the spike? Yeah, they did.
One enemy.
I got spike. Come back.
Spike's here. Spike down mid.
Help me out. Oh, someone help me out. I can't hold the spike myself.
You know what? You're right. You certainly can't hold that yourself when you're aiming like that. This player just completely tunnel visioned on the spike and is pre-aiming the right side of market. For context, he has an alarm bot in B main, and this omen just triggered his alarm bot in mid. There is almost a 0% chance that a player will swing in from inside market right now. So unless the players in mid pull the biggest Ferrari peek you have ever seen, there's absolutely no way he's not going to have to adjust his crosshair in this next engagement. And don't get me wrong, this player's not stupid. I'm sure if I were sitting next to him and I said to fix his crosshair placement in this moment, they'd correct it. But you jerks in the comments are thinking right now, how is this guy gold 3? And the answer is, all of you do this. This isn't something that is unique to one VOD. Every single replay I get sent in does the exact same thing. I mean it when I say every single one of you zones out on occasion and your crosshair placement sucks when you do it. I have been very critical of this replay, but I mean it when I say that this chamber is on a good route to improvement. It's clear that he's conscious about his crosshair placement sometimes, and he's working to correct it, but not everybody is conscious about it, so that is why I'm using this video to call you out. It's great that you're communicating. It's great that you're thinking about what the right play is, and now you need to start thinking about where you're aiming as well. It'll save your life. So let's take a look at some clips from my own games just to talk a bit about this further, because honestly, crosshair placement really is so important. Take a look at this clip where the enemy Reyna tries to take an aggressive peek on us with an op. Now, there are two things notable in this clip. The first is that I know people like to take aggressive peeks out of hookah. This is something as an Immortal player I am always prepared for. You may be able to land your shot first sometimes, but you're never really going to surprise me by peeking out of hookah. It's far too common and I've died to it too much to be surprised by this anymore. Now, every time I approach hookah, my crosshair is always positioned for a player to peek this. That is why I'm able to kill this Reyna before she even gets her shot off in the first place. The second thing worth taking note of is that even if I'm not expecting Reyna to swing me, as long as my crosshair is in the right place, I could easily pick up this kill. There's only one place I can be peeked from at the start of the round. This is absolutely where I should be aiming, regardless of if I'm expecting a peek or not. All it would take for me to get this kill is just to click. It doesn't matter if I expect her to be there or not. If she is there, all I gotta do is click. Let's take a look at a similar round from the same game that illustrates the same thing though. You'll notice in this round, I actually do think that they're opping this angle, and that's why I go for a jiggle peek real fast before swinging out. This is an incredibly common tactic in high rank to bait out op shots, so that way I can swing safely and force them off the angle. However, after I jiggle peek this angle twice and I don't hear a shot, I kind of just assumed he probably wasn't on this angle. Now, even though I didn't think he was on the angle, I still absolutely pre-aimed it when I swung. Maybe he's there, maybe he's not, but I'm definitely not going to risk it. Now, ignore the way I actually approach this here. Probably not the best movement to be honest, but even when you see the Omen swing out, if you look closely, you'll see I don't really move my crosshair at all. Sure, I move my character and that helps me correct my crosshair, but this Omen pretty much swings exactly where I'm aiming and I headshot him too. I let my crosshair placement do literally all of the work. You could make the argument that I'm just lucky the chamber missed his shot, but even if I'm lucky he missed, it wouldn't really matter if I was aiming at the floor the whole time. You gotta be able to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes, and that's what all of this is about, putting you in the best position to do that. It's really hard to punish people for swinging angles that they shouldn't swing if you don't have good crosshair placement. If you look at this clip, for example, you'll notice I'm able to pull off 3 crispy one-taps, and don't get me wrong, these are just nice shots, but you gotta keep in mind, 2 of these targets just kinda wide swung me without really being prepared to fight. This solo was looking in the complete opposite direction, and the Sage just sort of swung out immediately after killing my teammate, so I knew almost exactly where to aim. These are nice shots, but I didn't work too hard for them. The enemies made it easy. Another thing worth mentioning about our previous hero too was that oftentimes when he swung through smokes, his crosshair would sort of just float in the middle of nowhere.
They flashed.
I have
They're slow.
Teleport's gone.
Nowhere to run!
They're planning. Wait, they're inside. They're inside. Chamber main.
Spike plant.
This is pretty similar to pre-aiming before you peek a corner, to be honest. You just need to visualize what's on the other side. When you take a look at my clip, you'll notice that when I swing through the smoke, my crosshair is quite literally right on top of the enemy Jett's head. The reason for this is because she's standing by stairs, and that's the angle I was actively trying to pre-aim. Ironically, I don't even shoot the Jett first. I flick over towards the Reyna, but had I decided to click in this moment, I probably would have killed the Jett. Lastly, to finish off this video though, I wanted to show a clip that reminded me of the video that I made a few months ago. Let's flash back to that real fast. Or he recognizes that after the Jett jiggles him like this, there's a high likelihood that somebody else is going to peek off of her contact from yellow, and when she unpeaks, he begins to pre-aim yellow, increasing the odds that he wins that fight. The context you need to have for this clip is that I'm talking about how better players like Tens are more likely to win engagements like this, and it's not because of their aim. Now, what I say in the video might sound like it's nitpicky or not really usable in application, but a few months after this video was published, I wanted to show you a cool clip that I had. Notice how I do the exact thing I said in the previous video. When I see this player jump peeking me, I immediately realize that it's a bait, and I pre-aim generator in an attempt to be prepared for the next player to swing me. Crosshair placement just comes down to game sense at the end of the day. If I didn't have the good sense to be prepared for this sort of thing, there's no way I would have won this. But because I've played the game enough and I've had enough experience, at least once, I was able to pull this off. Just like all other players, I'm improving day by day. I'm not a number one player, but there are things I know today that I wouldn't have known 6 months ago. It's all part of the process. If you guys wanted to catch that full VOD review of the Chamber game though, and pick up some more things of the nuances in his gameplay, that all is available on the website, so be sure to head down to the description below and check it out. Along with that, we've recently updated the site with a bunch of new agent courses created by actual Radiant one tricks. These are some of the things that taught me a ton about the game and given me so many new perspectives. I highly encourage that you check these out. We even have the start of a few of these courses available for free on the site, so you can go and check them out for no charge at all. Other than that though, that'll do it for us today. As always, my name is King, and we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.